Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the session today, FIDO 101, Understanding FIDO and What It Can Do for You, presented by Axiad. My name is Karin Larson. I'm the Senior Director for the Strategic Partnerships and Alliances team at Axiad. And today we'll be talking a little bit about FIDO, understanding some of the basics of the protocol and how it can be applied to real-world examples in enterprises and organizations. To start off with, I'd like to talk a little bit about Axiad before we dive into FIDO. Axiad is a company where we produce a Axiad Cloud product. Axiad Cloud is a unified platform for securing authentication. We do support FIDO in addition to smart card, OTP, and a few other MFA methods. So we're very invested in this topic. So just to give you a little more background on Axiad and Axiad Cloud, we are used by some of the largest companies in the world, as you can see here. And we have won many awards over the last couple of years for our product set and what we can do and bring to different organizations and environments. So for the agenda today, we're going to start by talking about FIDO Alliance a little bit, what it is, why it was formed, and then we'll talk a little bit about authentication basics and some of the key terms that have to do with FIDO. And then we'll wrap things up today with some things to consider. There's a lot of really great things about FIDO, but we want to make sure that you're applying it and have the tools that you need to think about it in the right context for what you want to do for your enterprise. And we'll cover that in section 3. So let's start with the FIDO Alliance. To understand why FIDO came to be, we have to understand a little bit about passwords. So passwords have been in use for authentication for years. Passwords were introduced in the 50s as a way of securing computing platforms and have carried forward since then. But there's a lot of issues with passwords. One, passwords are a major cause of data breaches for organizations. So about 80% of the data breaches that organizations and enterprises experience can be tracked back to a weak or stolen password. Users have a lot of accounts online. So this means that things like password entropy, where people are using the same password for multiple accounts, are very, very common. This makes it easier for hackers to be able to log into those accounts because somebody may be using the same password in the majority of their accounts online. So if it gets compromised in one place, it's easy to be able to log in another place using that same password. The other problem with passwords is people just forget them. So from a retail perspective, there is a friction there for users when they're trying to make an online purchase and they're prompted with that login screen. They may or may not remember what their password was, and that can lead to abandonment and things like a shopping cart flow. So there are some real world values associated with those passwords. And then the other thing internally for organizations to consider is that there are a lot of help desk tickets that get triggered by forgotten passwords. So one of the studies that's out there says that cost for each one of those help desk calls is about $70. And those costs really add up for organizations, not only just for the cost of the help desk ticket and call and time out there, but also because of the loss of productivity for that employee when they're not able to get into their account. And then finally, the cybersecurity space is expanding. And I think as we've seen in the last year, there are more and more cyber attacks that are happening, and they're becoming increasingly common in all different forms of organizations. So one report from Accenture is pegging that number at 18.5 million as the average cost of a cyber attack on a financial services institution. And a lot of those cyber attacks are tracked back again to bad actors getting access to systems that they shouldn't via a password compromise. So this is just a reminder that vision that everybody has in their head of hackers madly going at systems with all the numbers and the everything else like falling down their screen isn't exactly true. What we've seen a lot in the last year is that people are hacking into systems are actually just logging in due to compromised credentials. They're not breaking in through some, very technically advanced backdoor. They're able to target certain employees or find credentials online that are valid and then use those to log into systems. This is a hack that we've seen over and over again, very popular with Lapsus and some of the other groups that have been in the news lately. But just a reminder that that is typically the weak part in most organizations. So, where does FIDO fit into all this? Well, FIDO stands for Fast Identity Online. And the mission of FIDO is to develop an authentication standard that could be adopted globally to eliminate and reduce reliance on passwords. Now, there are a lot of different standards bodies out there, a lot of different alliances that are trying to tackle different problems. But one of the reasons why FIDO has been so successful and has become a more adaptive standard is because of some of the backing of the companies that are involved in FIDO. And you can see that on the list here below. Some of the industry heavyweights are part of the organization and are really helping to drive and adapt and are committed to getting passwords out of people's everyday lives and how they interact with systems online.
To watch the full video, click the link below to our Bright Talk channel. For more Axiad content, click subscribe.